Simons, and they were keen to come over and see Alan's farm. So, seeing they were over here, we thought we'd round the rest of you up. Or just as a discussion group, not as a field day, so we didn't sort of make it too big a deal. So anybody that was interested, there's a few people that are interested in coming along. They missed the last field day, and they missed this one as well, didn't they? So there's a few people that are still interested. But the idea was, and you know, as soon as we landed the helicopter, opened the door, and there was a whole lot of clover there, which is
on one side.
Russell reckons there's none on his side. You know? Yeah.
I hope you're challenging him about that, Russell.
He doesn't get out this side.
Yeah, so anyway, the idea is we're not going to have a big to do on what we're doing, because most people have already had that run through. Just ask some questions. Anybody that's new here, Carl is from Terrigen. There's three parts to this. There's the consultancy, Kiwi Fertiliser, and the Terrigen that we put on, and Carl's the Terrigen man for New Zealand. So, you what?
Until the 30th of September.
Oh, right. Well, he was going to leave on the 10th of August, but you know, that didn't happen. You never know, we might have another shutdown.
Yeah. Might be like the election. October, November.
It might control you a bit more,
September.
Carl. So we've got some brochures that people can read later, but Alan is on, he started at what date was it? 18th of October?
Last year.
Yeah, he's wearing a Ford farming hat, that's good advertising. I don't need to advertise at all. 18th of October, we got together Ron and Jerry, Jerry there, Strange. Jerry Strange, that's the surname, just by the way. Strange guy.
I wanted to change it to something with a V.
Is your middle name is?
Always, always.
Jerry always Strange.
Yeah, but I've got an excuse too.
Yeah. So we've been going a year, and the first mission was to get the nitrogen down, which we have done. We're down from 180 down to 70 units of N per hectare, and looking at going from into this spring. Like, when did you last put some on, Alan?
So the whole farm was done early June, and we're due to do the farm again in the next fortnight.
But you only did it with 50 kilograms per hectare in your liquid of ammonium sulphate, which is only 10 units of N. And they're doing it again when it arrives next week, probably.
So traditionally, every 6 weeks, the fert truck would come in and put 30 units of N on, and we found that as we grew the business and grew our debt, we put on more and more nitrogen. And when the government started talking about all these new environmental issues and looking at putting on agriculture, we decided that we would look at making some changes under our own terms before they were forced to. So yeah, we started by sitting down with Ron and David and Jerry, and we set some pretty strict KPIs down because we got pretty high debt, and you know, we didn't want to have anything that was going to impact on our cash flow, profit, or grass grown. And we haven't gone silly. We've still, this last year, as David said, put on 70 units of N. So there still has N been put. We still have put N on because it's the transition period, which is one of our big issues, and it's worked pretty well. So at times in that transition period, if the grass was slowing down and we weren't happy with the cover, we would put a bit of nitrogen on. So yeah, we're really looking forward to this year. And one of the things we did last autumn was we oversowed 3 different clovers and some chicory over the whole farm. And we did half of our second farm at Arini, and we're just going to do the back half of that farm with plantain in with the next spray. So yeah, I went with Carl and David to an organic field farm last week. Where was it?
Paddy Tonga.
Tonga, and so they got multi-pastures species in there, and I was just absolutely blown away. So for years, you know, we've been putting in the latest bloody ryegrass cultivars, and they just don't last. And so I'm hoping with this new system, and with going with other pasture species, we'll get away from that. You know, we're finding that we're spending over 20 grand a year on seed. It's just bloody ridiculous.
So what we're trying to do with Alan is to get to a perfect biological system as fast as possible, so we want to do that without costing more money and or losing production. So the target was to get to 70 units, and but we didn't actually hold Alan back on nitrogen to say we're only going to put on 70. I'd always ask him what he felt like he needed, and even now, his other farm at Arini on the other side of the river, he's still sort of addicted to nitrogen. He's just done a round of ammonium sulphate, but he put it on 100 kilograms per hectare. So whenever you talk to Brandon, he's always talking about, oh, I need some more nitrogen. So there's that thinking. So the idea of taking Alan to the organic farm at Patterson's over in Paddy Tonga was that to get that nitrogen thing out of his brain, because everybody thinks, oh, if we're going to use nitrogen, we should do this and this, and that's the way generally everybody thinks. So but the big danger too is that if you think you want to reduce your nitrogen, you can't actually do it without going through this system. We've got 8 steps to go through, and when we first came to Alan's, when he actually had reduced his nitrogen by, was it 30? You were starting to reduce it by 30%, so well, you've got no clovers, you can't do that, you'll just grow less grass. So we had to first get the clovers in. And we found that by getting, using the Perilab and the Kiwi fertiliser system that we've all learnt, that if you get that soil balanced and then put the Terrigen on from that Carl looks after, then the clover just turns up real fast. So we've seen that transition. We're seeing it in all the other farms that we're dealing with as well. There's 5 other farmers that are doing this, and they're seeing exactly the same thing. So you go, wow, look at this clover coming.
There were community representatives looking at water futures, like water quality, values of water and all that sort of thing. So there's everyone you can think of there. There's plenty of iwi, there's dock, fish and game, rafting operators, beef farmers, sheep farmers, dairy farmers, greenies, everybody. So I got a bit of a shock at some of the attitudes, and we actually hosted the committee at our Arini farm one day, because I thought, you know, half these muppets don't know anything about farming. And we did the same thing with Trustpower. We went to the Mount Hena Dam, which has a huge impact, and a 35-year consent on the river. But I'm also a farmer representative on the Rangatahi River liaison committee, the council call it. So we meet 2 or 3 times a year and work with council on capital works and maintenance works, and you know, liaising between farmers and the council. So yeah, I've had quite a lot of exposure to off-farm stuff, and also quite a few years on federated farmers and doing submissions and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, and there's a hell of a lot of stuff that affects our business now and potentially that's outside our gate, and I don't think any of us can afford to just be stay at home and not worry about it. You've got to try and affect change, and you've got to try and put agriculture's point of view, because a lot of these, even locally, people think they know about farming, they haven't got a bloody clue. And it's pretty scary, really. And all we want to do is tell our story, explain the challenges we've got, and you know, give us a bit of a break with the transition. Don't put us out of business and scare the crap out of everybody with your demands. That's sort of my philosophy.
Like well, I've got a biological farm. The reason I got into it, because I didn't trust people like Where's Ron? Ron? Because I was project manager for Rotorua Lakes and Waterways. It was a group set up by FOMA and Federated Farmers in Rotorua. Look at the nitrogen leaching out for the lakes. That's how we got into it. And I was a project manager. Well, we did several things, but in the last one we knew we were going to have a fight, and we wanted to grow the roots longer so that we'd intercept more nitrogen, and that's where we ran into trouble. Nobody wanted to hear about anything that wasn't coming out of a bag. It wasn't the fertiliser companies that gave us the trouble, it was the scientists that gave us the trouble. It was, I had about 70% nitrogen in my pasture. I didn't undersow it. I just put on there full of stuff, and up came the nitrogen. And it came up with big leaves, you know, they're like the petals were that big.
You're talking about clover.
Clover, sorry, yeah, clover, yeah. They were big. And it went over the whole farm. It is susceptible to management though. Depending on what you give the cows, you're going to alter the composition of the milk. And nobody's done any work on that. Well, not much anyway. You know, we know PKs, you know, they put a ban or a restriction on it for a good reason. Alter the composition of the milk. And I presume, you know, they want to alter the composition of the milk. I don't know. But if you're going to do what the government wants, what we're doing here, biological farming is the only thing that's going to meet it. The conventional farming's gone as far as it can.
Bit of plantain on your last farm, right, Sean? Shane, you might have some comments on that.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was farming in Waikiri Valley.
Oh yes.
And I planted. Well, I basically trialled everything. I had sort of 4 hectares of chicory and 4 hectares of plantain, and then a mixture of both. And found the plantain very good. We get at least 2 seasons out of it. And in the winter, I'd graze it in the winter as well. Well, sort of not in the winter, but I'd leave the cows in there. I'd use it to put my colostrum cows overnight. Yeah. And so I actually was leaving them in there, but also went in with about 2 kilos of red clover and 2 kilos of white clover. And the white clover, the red clover would get up to yay high. And then you get out on a 30-day round over the summer, and it actually would seed and reseed. Yeah. And I didn't have any trouble with they say there's a flea there, and I didn't have any trouble with that. And yeah, I found it to be very good.
It's new grass. It's going to be soft.
It will be. It'll be open as well. Yeah.
Don't farm for a drought.
I think you were going to look at some cows. You can do that with the security of a...
Oh, okay. And it ranks them in PW.